severely today. Let's speak further. We're joined by Owen Nkomo from Nkunzi Wealth. Great to have you as always. Who is being reckless here? Capitec or Viceroy Research?
It's a very difficult one, Francis, because from where I'm sitting, if you have Viceroy writing a research note and they haven't consulted the Capitec management, I think there's a big question mark there. I've worked in the industry for years, and I have not seen an analyst write a report and not having gone to talk to management about these issues. And relying on whistleblowers, it's one thing, you can do that, but I believe that you need to give the management that's in charge of the business an opportunity to answer as well to some of these things. That's why I have a very big problem with Viceroy and the way they are operating, because you don't know if they're a research house, you don't know if they're a hedge fund that's looking to short stocks, and if it's a hedge fund looking to short stocks, therefore they can write anything they want out there after having sold any stocks.
And let's go further with that. So they can cause market volatility and benefit from that by shorting the stocks, basically betting it will go down. Most
definitely. I mean, you look at that chart that Peter was looking at just now. The decline in Capitec didn't start today. It started yesterday as well, and a few days back there was some sell-off on the stock. Who knew something? You know, it's irregular. And I do think that we really need to start getting to a point where, yes, we need objective research. If Viceroy is correct, which I do believe potentially to an extent they are correct, I do think that they need to really step up to the plate and commit more for the work that they are doing. But the other angle we need to look at is, look at what happened at African Bank. You know, things looked okay until stuff hit the fan. But now with Capitec, we've always maintained that Capitec's lending policies and principles are more conservative than African banks. But if reports and emails emerge that actually Capitec, in fact, has been flouting the rules, then in my humble view, we need the National Credit Regulator to go and dig in and have a look at what Capitec has really been telling us versus what they are doing in practice, for us to be able to surmise whether or not these allegations out of Viceroy are correct.
So Capitec says that 3 customers did go to court, claiming reckless lending, obviously, but saying that Viceroy didn't pick up on their response to that. That does sound serious, a court case, but as far as I know, all the banks land up in court. There's always somebody aggrieved. So
in the financial services space, that happens quite a lot, definitely. And I think that is a big bank like that, you know, the penalties, the potential penalties for flouting these rules, especially the NCR Act that Capitec operates under, they are very big. They could run into billions. And I don't think that Capitec, being a bank that we believe runs a simple model, simple processes, you know, I don't know that they would want to land themselves in a position where they get fined billions of rands for all the hard work they've been doing over the years.
And they've had the lesson of African Bank. And way back then, people were saying that they are very different. So Capitec, as I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, has gone after even high-income earners, saying we can't rely only on unsecured lending to low-income earners. And they've diversified much more than African Bank.
Yes, definitely. Incidentally, I had dinner 2 days ago with a professor from Pretoria. She says, I have moved my personal banking to Capitec. So they definitely, because of the ease of using their app on the phone, and you know, the fact that they're just a simple bank that's doing simple solutions, has attracted a lot of high-end income earners as well. However, I will put a caveat to that. If we dig into Capitec's numbers and lending processes as alleged by Viceroy, and we find out that there's been malpractices in the way they have been lending to customers, then I do think that Capitec has to answer, you know. So it's really a tricky one, but I'll also extend on to say someone needs to start looking, in my view, at Viceroy, honestly speaking.
Well, what can you do about Viceroy? It's a small research firm in the United States. This would never have happened if it didn't get Steinhoff right, and they didn't speak to management either. But now everybody's listening to what Viceroy says. What can we do at South Africa?
Yeah, it's a little...
What can Capitec do?
It's very difficult. I mean, being Capitec, we hope that you're doing the right things. But as an investor, unfortunately, you're at the mercy of the reality, which you actually don't know. The only people that know the reality is the management of these companies. And we are hoping that they've been telling the investing community the truth about their practices and the truth about their numbers. You know, so if that hasn't been the case, then definitely, if Viceroy insists, I mean, you see they're being brazen and they're talking on Twitter and all other social media platforms. If they know something that the rest of us don't know, then I do think that Capitec can still go under a lot of pressure.
I don't know if you are. Would you be worried if you were invested in Capitec right now?
Most definitely, I would be worried. I would definitely be worried. I mean, maybe Viceroy knows something that we do not know, like I have said. One can only hope that the board and the management, the executive team, who are heavily invested in this company, Mr. Fourie is one of the richest people in the country, together with the rest of his executive team. I think it'll be unwise of them to do something that will see those fortunes dwindle.
And how could they prove to you that they have been conservative? Because, and answer this as well, I think for the rest of us non-professional investors, there's a concern because you have auditors who are meant to check on these companies.
Yes.
You have regulators. We have very strong regulation in South Africa. You have people like you, advisors, who are also meant to be reading the financials that they release. But there seems to be a complete lack of trust in any of these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to get worse. And I think you're going to see more calls for boards to be more technically astute, to be more hands-on, to demand more answers about the real practices happening on the ground. Because what happens with a board meeting and board monitoring, in most of the case, management gives you numbers. These are the financial statements. This is our reality. This is what's going on. But then you don't go deeper to analyze what's going on. And I think that there has to be an extension of the responsibility of the board. And there has to be personal liability to directors, in my view, so that they know that if they misinform us as an investing community, they will be held personally liable.
All right, so that's a possible answer, and I think we are heading there. Thank you very much, Owen Nkomo and Quincy Wealth. I will follow this tomorrow, but how did it play out on the markets? Well, the JSE saw its biggest daily fall in more than a year today. The all-share index was down by more than 2%. The heavily weighted Naspers also not helping. It dragged the local market. It fell by more than 5% after Morgan Stanley's cut its predicted share price. So